Welcome to the Bougie Black Brother Network. Good evening and welcome to Fade to Back Cinema. I'm Michael, your Bougie Black Brother, and I'm here with my co-host, Alicia.
Hello.
And me and my sweetheart went out today and we saw BlacKKKlansman. And it was really, really interesting because, tell her baby, we used to almost exclusively follow Spike Lee.
Yeah, since we were what?
And we'll just keep it that far.
And my daughter, our children met Spike Lee.
Yep.
Yeah,
two of them though, right?
Yes. There was not a third one at that.
Yeah, there wasn't a third one at that time. It was down in Harlem.
It sure was, right down the street from your mom's house.
Filming Jungle Fever.
That's right, sure was.
And he had one of the, I don't know if it was a brownstone or one of the housing parts.
It was a brownstone.
It was a brownstone down in Harlem in the upper 140s down the street from my mother's former place of residence. Mm-hmm. So Spike Lee was a big part of us saying, wow, here are black movies about where we live, what we do, because he's really a Brooklynite. And, from Flatbush, right?
I think so.
In the Flatbush area. But he's a New Yorker. So whenever we saw his movies, we saw us and the things that we saw and the kind of philosophy that a lot of New Yorkers had. So we followed him almost religiously until
he just faded away.
And then he started doing some, I think his head got big and he thought he can compete with the major people instead of just keeping with what he was doing. And I think he was getting a lot of criticism for being that black activist type guy, and they was rejecting and they wasn't giving him money. Yeah, they wasn't giving him the money. Yeah. But anyway, so some quick update. He had a series on, what is it, Netflix, right?
Yeah, Netflix.
She's Gotta Have It. And we tried to give him the benefit of the doubt and said,
true classic.
Yep, that was one of his first movies that he did. Actually, I think the short film, and then he did a major motion picture, She's Gotta Have It, in black and white. And he played the star, one of the characters, Mars Blackman. So he had a TV series, and I was like, I wonder how he's going to do that. It wasn't good at all. Now, there was aspects of it that was good, but an overall film, we really wasn't pleased with that. Were you pleased with it?
With She Gotta Have It?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know how I felt about that.
Yeah, I know.
We did our review on that.
Oh yeah, that's true. So if you want to go back, you
can go back and listen to it. And I don't want to go talk about it now. Let's talk about this movie.
So anyway, we found that he was doing based on a true story, BlacKKlansman. Mm-hmm. So at first I was kind of like, I really don't want to see this bullshit because I think the last one he did was Chirac, and that was weird. And we still didn't see that, and I don't plan on seeing it either. But I really didn't want to go see it until we found out who helped him produce it.
What's his name?
Jordan Peele.
Yeah, Jordan Peele.
From the critically acclaimed Get Out.
Yeah.
Or Key and Peele series.
Yeah, the Key and Peele series. I love that.
That was crazy. Yeah, they were very, very creative.
I wish they were still doing it.
But the good thing is they doing their separate things.
They sure are.
And they're doing well. I think Peele is doing a lot better because he's doing more writing. And he's involved with a lot of production as opposed to just acting. And he has a really good vision, so I'm really looking forward to whatever he's going to do next. You know what I mean?
He's got great vision. He is talented. I mean, very talented. When Get Out came out, everybody loved it because it was something that was uniquely different.
You'd never seen anything like that before, and the perspective of it. It wasn't evil, racist white people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's your expectation when it comes to white people who want to harm black people. It's because they hate them. But he did a flip on that, which was really amazing. But anyway, so once we found out he was involved in it, we was like,
we changed our mind real quick.
Let's just see it.
Yeah,
then.
because people started talking about it, and people started to say how good it was.
Yep.
And it's almost like he took Spike Lee under his wing. Because you see little touches of Spike Lee in this, but you more so see Keenan, Pete's. You see Pete's. Jordan Pete's.
Peele.
Jordan Peele. Much more in this, like Get Out.
So I think, and I'm glad you said it in that way. I think Jordan Peele probably helped steer him in the right direction. I think you saw. I mean, remember you saw some kind of crazy looking stuff that he likes to do, like Spike Lee likes to do.
Yeah, like showing the flowers flowing in the wind.
No, that's not a. That's.
Well, I'm just saying that's how Spike Lee do. He likes to put his little touches in there.
Yeah, but what his touches is usually that floating down the hallway type shit. And then he did one thing that I thought was pretty cool when he had a scene with Stokely Carmichael speaking, and these people, and you saw their faces come up, and it was kind of like they were so in tune to what he's saying, and I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. But he did it too much, so he overdid it. Yeah,
because he did the part where they gathered together to empower to the people and the student. You know that's Spike Lee's part. Right there. Then they brought Harry Belafonte in. That was Spike Lee's stuff right there. And so you kind of know which was Spike Lee compared to.
But again, that's not a Spike Lee thing. Spike Lee likes to put in some almost creative stuff that he likes to do. And when you do that, you kind of be like, yeah, that's just a Spike thing. But what he did here that made it unique. So like you said, when he brought in Harry Belafonte, he put in the aspect of history.
Yeah, yeah.
And Spike has a tendency, and I think maybe that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. When Spike likes to put, I'm not just talking, here's some history. And he likes to get you emotionally involved in what's being said or being done. He's going to put some history behind it, not just saying, things are bad. So, but we didn't talk about the movie yet.
Right.
But the movie is all about a guy named Ron. A true story about the first black officer in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Yeah, police department. Yeah.
And what we did a little research and to say how much of this was correct.
Yeah.
So anyway, he was the first black, and he wanted to do something more.
Right.
Other than being a black records keeper inside of the, which was kind of, it's kind of typical. He was kind of fucked up. But he was a rookie. So why would he get one of the hottest things?
Yeah, but they were sitting there. So in the movie, he was sitting there talking to, I think, somebody in the councilman or somebody.
Yeah, see, I don't know who he was. So that was kind of cool too.
That was our boy though. That was our boy
from The Wire. He was in there. That's his signature phrase. Sometimes you get tired of certain people who say it, but I never get tired of him saying that because he always does it just at the right point. So
that was Spike Lee putting that in.
He's like, nah, I won't put my boy in here. Look, you need to say it. He's like, man, I'm tired of saying that. Nope, I want you to say it.
Another part at the very beginning, which was a shocker, Alec Baldwin.
So I thought that was...
That's Spike Lee too.
Yeah, but I thought that was... I loved it.
Yeah, I did
thought
too.
The beginning of it shows the racist activity and the racist thoughts of people sending out propaganda. So he had Alec Baldwin introduce that. But the way he did it, he didn't just have it as a commentary. He did it like they was filming it live, and he kept messing up, and he was like, yeah, and the white okay, do it one more time, and then he'll go back into it. Then he said, and the racist bigots. No, don't say bigots. Say what? Then what should I say? Okay, and then he'll go right back into it. I love the fact.
I love the intro. That was
the
an
intro.
That was an amazing intro to just kind of to prepare you what the movie really was going to be
just
about.
The feel and everything. Yeah. But it was all about this guy, Ron Stallworth, true story, who infiltrated the KKK in Colorado Springs as a black man on the phone, but partnered with one of his partners to be the white man
to portray him. Yeah.
And which is funny, he uses his own name. So
by mistake.
But he said by mistake. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But in real life, he only did it because he didn't think it would get any far.
Right.
He was like, I didn't think this would get anywhere.
And it just so happened it was a 9-month investigation. And it was, and he wasn't expecting this to happen.
But it became such a great, they stopped a lot of activity that the KKK was trying to do. Yeah. And they didn't even realize who it was that infiltrated them. They had no idea. Yeah. But the biggest catch on it was Ron Stallworth's true relationship with David Duke.
Yes, he actually had
a phone relationship.
Yep, sure did.
With David Duke.
Yep, calling him all the time.
Calling him, and they're just going through some things, and
just don't forget now he has his KKK card.
Yeah, he still have his membership card.
And they gave him a certificate.
A certificate for what?
You remember, and he got a certificate for being, when he
doing the ceremony.
Yes,
and everything.
Yes, the ceremony.
Yeah. So
with his name on it, that was like remember the police officer, his boss they want him to destroy that stuff.
Yeah, he said get rid of everything.
He's like, really? He wasn't gonna do that. I mean,
that's why he said, I'm gonna write a goddamn book.
Yeah, and it was just so interesting.
So this is what made it such a unique movie, because he could have done it historically and went straight through it, and then you would have said, wow, that was really interesting. But what Spike does, and I think I'm going to give Jordan Peele a lot of credit. I'm going to give him a little more credit than Spike Lee.
Yes.
Because I think Jordan Peele was like, no, stick to this. Also, related. You want to relate it to that, but you got to do it like this. So what he was doing was that racism and the way people think back then, there is no change. It hasn't changed. And what Spike did was show like images of long time ago. Black people were being burnt and lynched. And then one of them was, what was it? There was a portion in there that they was having a conversation with Ron Stallworth. And he was telling him, hey, you know what? David Duke is getting into politics because they found out just violence is not going to get what you want. Yeah,
that was
you can put something. That was the Jewish guy.
That was the police chief.
The police chief?
The one who was over him.
Right. So he was telling him, stop being naive.
Yeah, he was explaining to him, like, you got to understand that this is what white people thinking. David, Duke was doing this for a purpose, and he didn't understand that. He's like, you don't understand?
So what he's saying was the purpose is politics. When you affect legislation and you affect laws, that's how you take away the rights of black and brown people. You just can't intimidate them anymore. So what David Duke realized, that if they can put somebody in power with that philosophy, their philosophy will go throughout the nation and they can use it by changes in laws. Mm-hmm. And it kept just saying, without even seeing it until the end, that this is what happened with Trump. Because even, Ron Stallworth, he said that will never happen. Yeah. He was like, you're very naive.
Yeah, you're very naive.
Very naive. Yeah. This can happen at any time.
Yep. He was so good at explaining it to him.
Yeah, and it was a great conversation. There was a lot of good dialogue back and forth that was apropos to what's going on currently. Mm-hmm. And I think Spike Lee's direction was really, really good, because what he was showing you was actually the things that was going on now. The harassment by the police, the violence and the humiliation. And, the one thing that they used him as undercover is when Kwame, I forgot his last name, but it's Stokely Carmichael, he changed his name. They wanted him to infiltrate the Black Panther. And that's what they gave him the insight to say, let me infiltrate the KKK.
Right.
And they was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. And then when he called them, they didn't believe, like, yo, this dude actually talked to the KKK.
Yeah.
Like he was a white man.
Yeah. And I mean, it was just so cool how when the white guy went to portray him.
Right.
And he basically, it was just like that crazy one didn't trust him. You know what I'm saying? And he had every reason not to, but the other guy's like,
but
no.
the other guy, no, but they was excited by him. It was like, we got a new guy.
Yeah.
That we didn't know, and he's really saying the things that we want.
Right.
But the one KKK guy was like, we don't know this guy. We don't know shit about it. He's probably Jewish. And the Jewish portion, that was made up. So it was never that he was Jewish, but what Spike Lee wanted the audience, and I get it too, to say, why would a white man just do this?
Right.
You know what I mean? If you just have any ordinary white person, will the audience really believe it? Well, there's a lot of good white people that's out there.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
But most black people would not see that as being true. But if you made it Jewish, and then that would be something. And here's another key. It just came to me. I meant to tell you about this after the movie too. But it was a lot of denigration of Jews, almost on the same level of blacks, because they kept saying that Jews were doing this, the Jews were this, and it was a lot of hatred toward the Jews. And then even at the end, when they showed the Charlottesville people, they were saying up the Jews as well. So it was he pivoted from only being a black thing to say, no, these people hate gays, these people hate Jews, these people hate blacks.
And I liked that.
But I like the fact that he almost dealt with it even-handedly.
Right, and it didn't focus just on black people.
Right, but
because every time.
But normally it does.
Right, every time we see someone with KK, it's always the black people, knowing that they hate the Jews and the gays as well.
So he put it in, but it was mostly the Jews and the blacks.
Right.
So the thing is, if he made the white person Jewish, then you hear this dialogue of how much they hated the Jews. Like Spike says, he said, you got some skin in the game. Then,
right.
You know,
it justified and make the scales even.
Right.
Because he did focus on what happened to blacks in the movie.
Oh, he did. Because they had the black activists. Remember the Black Panther
activists,
movie?
Then the school, Kwame, and then you had Harry Belafonte talking about the lynching.
That was the kids.
Right. So
the college students.
Yeah. So talking about the lynching. So he did bring that all in there, knowing and it all associated to the KKK.
Right.
By he putting pictures in there of the KKK. Watching them hang with their children and everything, and how Harry Belafonte explained to them. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't so even though they did a lot, talked about the Jews, they made emphasis as well on blacks.
And the thing is, another thing that I thought was interesting was, when Harry Belafonte talked about the pictures that they took when they lynched and burned him and cut off his genitals and shot him and do all of that. He said there was pictures taken by something called Gildersleeve. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you are always wondering who was this guy? You know what I mean? But he was a photographer. You know what I mean? And this photographer took these pictures and he made them postcards. So white people can send them around and say, hey, look what happened in our town.
Right.
Wish you was here. One of them shits.
Right.
And I was like, wow, how disturbing that is. And if it's not disturbing, then that's a problem. If people don't find that disturbing, that they would show the misery of others, even if it's another race, show that. That's really... really bad. You know,
Right.
I can say evil. I can say twisted and demented. All of that. But he did. One of the reviews said he didn't get as raw, poignant of how evil white people was, because he usually points that out easily.
Right.
He didn't do that this time. He didn't do it as harsh as he used to.
And I think probably because what's the name was in there,
Peele. And I think he wanted to get a good message out,
right?
Not just
I don't, a
message,
right? Because Peele wanted to focus on the book, about the story.
Yeah, but Spike Lee wanted to focus on, even though this is a story that happened long ago, it's still going on now.
Yeah, and it's understandable. That's totally understandable.
Mm-hmm.
And we discussed this too before we got on the podcast, is that if Peele was not doing this,
oh yeah,
Spike Lee would have been all over the place with this without doing the story, telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
And like the other thing is, a lot of stuff was fluff. We know that that wasn't necessarily needed in the movie, being that he wrote the book.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it did turn out really nice though.
He did a good job, and even what he put in, added to that wasn't true, it still was believable. Oh, it didn't take away from the movie. Like he had the girlfriend that was part of the college,
which wasn't
wasn't true. Yeah. She wasn't a true character, but it wasn't bad. It didn't hurt anything. You know what I mean? It didn't hurt anything. The fact that he wasn't Jewish, but he did exist. That's all that mattered.
Right.
There was a white man that showed up there that they believed that was that. I thought it was interesting that people would think that, wait a minute, he was the bodyguard for David Duke? Yep. He sure was. I didn't believe that, but that shit was true. I didn't believe that he took a picture with them. That shit was true. Yeah, and they said they couldn't find the picture anymore. Somehow the picture got lost. Oh wow! So I would have loved for it to appear up and say,
I would have loved to see the picture too.
Here's the shit.
Yeah,
you know, the fact that at the end that he told David Duke that, that he was black. Yeah, David Duke didn't find out until 2006.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So David Duke still thought Ron Stallworth was
a white Anglo-Saxon white man.
Yep. So, which still made it really, really interesting. But the story is worth seeing because it's true. First of all, it's worth seeing because Spike Lee actually did a very good job directing this. He did a very good job. The acting was done really well. Even the white characters and everything did very, very well in there. The supporting characters did really well. So he did a good job bringing it all together. And if Jordan Peele helped him with the direction, good for him. He need to keep him close by if he's going to do another film. Because if he continues like this, it'll be worthy to start seeing Spike Lee movies again.
Yeah, yeah.
But if he doesn't and he goes back to a way of, dude, you're all over the place. Once again, look, man, calm down, stay structured. I know you want to get your point across. And I'm going to go back to your point that you said earlier was he would have probably started, putting his own story as opposed to Ron Stallworth's story. Because I think Spike always want to make his own point.
Right.
So it would overwhelm Ron Stallworth's story by him overwhelming with that. And I think Jordan Peele probably kept him, dude, we really got to give his story out, and you can supplement your points that you want to make with his story, but let it surround his story as opposed to your point. There's a big difference. Mm-hmm. So that's why I found that he did a really good job with this. This was really another interesting story. Remember we talked about this. We don't know how he got the story. I thought it came to Jordan Peele, and then he said, I recommend that Spike do this. But I still haven't found that portion. But it reminds me of Steve McQueen when he got 12 Years a Slave. It was given to him. He didn't go out and say, let me find me a good story to do that.
Right.
This was dropped in his hand, and he was like, this story needs to be told. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just like this one, it was like, this story needs to be told. Even though they told him to get rid of everything. And so the contrast of happened in the movie too was, you know, the bombings and people got hurt and they was concerned with that. They were turning around and it was like, no, it's not the bomb. That's why we got to start. But it was because the police officer didn't want to be, the police chief didn't want to be associated to say my police officers are associated with the Klan.
KKK, yeah.
And so he's like, no, I got to stop this shit.
Well, see, also in the ending when they, you know, where the KKK's wife screwed up because she was trying to bomb the
college students.
In their location where they meet up, and they like she couldn't meet there, too many police officers. Then she had to go. Then she said, okay, you know, plan 2 was to leave the bomb at the girl's house. It didn't fit in the mailbox.
So she ran away except for just leaving it there.
So, yep, exactly. And put it underneath her car.
Yeah, put it on the top, yeah.
Yeah, and then that was it. I mean, you know, everybody was riding down the street to try to stop her. Well, not stop her, but she, you know, basically had accused, what's his name?
Ron Stallworth.
Ron, of harassing her. And
was trying to rape her.
Right.
So the cops stopped beating his ass.
Right. Then she ran.
Like,
she tried to get in her car, was it?
She was just pointing at him, and then she saw her husband show up with the other Klan people in the car, and they had to switch, and they hit the switch, and they was right next to the car where they set the bomb.
Yep.
So,
but that wasn't real.
One of the funny things in this movie, and it shows based on the book too, is Klan was a whole bunch of stupid motherfuckers, though.
Yes.
They were really stupid.
Yeah.
They're just really stupid.
What's that purpose?
Well, you can ridicule them. You can ridicule them in one way, but based on the book, they still did some stupid shit that you was like, they're a bunch of idiots.
Now, you know, they were supposed to have that march in D.C. You know, they had that march. They're supposed to have the march in D.C. And they were saying thousands of them were coming.
And it was only like a couple of hundred.
No, about 2-3 dozen. And so saying that, and like you said, what happened last year, a lot of them that were...
They showed up
and they got called out, and a lot of them got fired.
Yep, they lost their job.
And I said, where was Duke at? He was supposed to be there to talk too.
No. So, low profile. You know, if the president gave him cover, then he probably would have done something. But, you know, Trump has his own worries because he got his own people that's on trial getting ready to tell on him. So, he got his own worries. But, yeah, so... But overall, what would you give this movie, baby?
I'll give it a 7.
Okay. I give it an 8.25. And the reason why I give it an 8.25 is because I'm going to give Spike Lee credit for actually doing a good movie. Second, this was a true story, which was goddamn amazing. And Spike Lee had it very almost close to the T of showing his life and what he did, which was really, really great. And the actors and everything did a really good job on him.
They did. Now, I'm going to tell you why
Denzel Washington's son played Ron Stallworth.
Yeah,
he did really well.
And he's making his own place in the movie industry.
Yeah.
Without, being
associated to his father.
Exactly. Exactly. And the reason why I gave it a 7 is because Jordan Peele really did make this movie, took Spike Lee under his wing to make the movie done right. That's the reason why I gave it a 7.
Think he made it. He showed him, look, this is a better way of doing it.
Right. If Peele wasn't there, it should be all over the place. That's why I gave it a 7.
I agree with you. I totally agree that if it wasn't for Peele, this would be something we wouldn't even go see. And I think you would hear it in the reviews. The reviews would have probably said something totally different because I'm telling you, if you look at his past movies, you would say, wow, he's getting better. No, he's really not getting better. He's going back to his basics, the way he used to do things. And
it's almost like he don't know how to direct.
I think he was chasing images of directors that wasn't him. He redone one of my favorite Korean movies called Old Boy, and it was terrible. It was one of the worst movies he ever made, and besides Girl 6. But that was terrible. And I was like, that was a wasted movie. And why did you put your name associated to that? That was terrible. And, he tried because he probably liked the movie and thought he can do a good job. But he did absolutely awful. But you're right. I give Jordan Peele a lot. But even though I'm giving that to him, I still enjoyed the movie. So that's why I said I gave it an 8.25. Yeah. Because I still enjoyed it, and that's something that I would recommend if someone say, "Hey, is this worth seeing?" You're damn right, it's worth seeing. This is not only historic and educational, but you'll be so surprised to realize that this was true.
Yeah, and that's what made it so good. It was true, and you was like, "What the hell's gonna happen next?"
Yeah,
because
I thought he was gonna get caught.
Yeah,
because he wore a wire. The white guy wore a wire
through the whole thing.
Yeah, and no one wanted to say, "Hey, wait a minute, do you got a wire on?"
Yeah,
and it's probably because they was ignorant.
And then Ron threw the brick, the stone through the window. The white lady freaked out. It's like, "Black man threw the brick away." That was cool as hell because his boy was about to be do the
lie detector test.
Yeah, so that got him out of it. So there's just some things that you would say, "Oh my God, this is really," it was a good movie. It was just a good movie.
Yeah, and it's worth seeing.
Yep,
this is one of them that's worth seeing. If you're gonna put on a list, you're gonna say, "Hey, this is worth seeing." So we saw 2 other movies prior to this on our August Black Month of movies. So we're continuing on with that, and this is the third one, and it's really, really worth seeing. And there's just a couple of movies that came out that surprisingly was very well done. And if you want to see black movies without Kevin Hart in it, this is one of them. Or Tiffany Haddish, this is one of them. You don't have to see those in order to see a black movie. So please keep that in mind when you go see movies, because there are good black movies that's out. But anywho, really enjoyed it. Alicia liked it too. She gave it a 7. And me, I'll point and a quarter more at 8.25. But Fade to Black Cinema every Wednesday. See us every Wednesday for our movie and TV show reviews, which we really enjoy. We got a lot of things up on tap, but we got one more black movie behind this one, and we'll be reviewing. So stay tuned for that for the end of the month, or perhaps the beginning of September. It depends on which weeks it falls under. But really enjoying this month of black movies. So, what do you got, darling?
Nothing. It was good to see Harry Belafonte.
Yeah, that was surprising when he showed up in there. I was like, wow, Harry Belafonte in it. Yeah. Looking good and speaking eloquently, and that was good. And Alec Baldwin starting the movie off, which was funny as hell.
Yeah, that was awesome too.
That was awesome. But anyway, see us every Wednesday. Fade to Black Cinema. Check us out on YouTube as well under the Bougie Black Brother Network. Hit us up and you'll see our snippets or any type of movie reviews or upcoming on Instagram under the Bougie Black Bro, BRO, and Twitter, Bougie Black Bro, and see us on the bougieblackbrother.com. So you'll see the movies under Fade to Black Cinema. So check us out, and we appreciate y'all stopping by. And we'll see you next Wednesday on Fade to Black Cinema. See ya.
Bye.